Chapter 1. The strongest cultivator becomes a babysitter. The Li residence was peaceful. Too peaceful. That kind of peaceful where Li Wei immediately suspected a trap. "Xiao Li, the brat is quiet," he whispered, peeking suspiciously into the bedroom. Across the room, Xiao Li sat cross-legged, meditating, his black hair falling over his shoulders like a dark waterfall. He cracked one golden eye open. He has a name, Li Chun, and quiet means he is finally sleeping. For once, don't ruin it. Li Wei tiptoed in, his steps slow. His robes fluttered, as though he were sneaking into a sect master's treasury instead of his own child's crib. He leaned over and squinted at the baby, who had soft cheeks, a faint snake-shaped birthmark on his neck, and a dangerously deceptive aura of innocence. "Ha! I knew it. He's faking sleep again. Look at his lips twitching. He's plotting. Just like you," Li Wei said in triumph. The sleeping child's lips curled ever so slightly, and then, bang! A burst of qi exploded from the crib, sending Li Wei flying across the room into the wall. The wooden beams groaned. A ceramic vase that Xiao Li had carefully chosen to bring demonic sophistication to their home toppled and shattered. "Ow! See? He was plotting." Li Wei's muffled voice came from the floor. The baby sat up, eyes wide and sparkling as though delighted with his own chaos. Then, in the blink of an eye, his chubby form shimmered and twisted. Suddenly, a tiny jet-black snake wriggled in the blankets. "Chunny, your father has not yet recovered from the trauma of babysitting you, and you turn into a snake without warning. Xiao Li, this is your fault." Li Wei scrambled upright, pointing accusingly at the snake. Xiao Li rose gracefully, walked over, and scooped up the snake child with one hand. The baby hissed cheerfully and curled around his wrist, leaving faint sparks of qi in the air. "This is not my fault. This is your bloodline's chaos meeting mine. The result is this," Xiao Li said. He held up the snake like an unfortunate prize. Li Wei clutched his chest. "My bloodline has never spontaneously turned me into a reptile. Because you are an idiot, not a prodigy." "Excuse me?" Before their marital argument could escalate further, the snake baby suddenly shimmered back into his human form. A small boy now, about toddler-sized, with wide black eyes and that unmistakable snake birthmark curling up his neck. He clapped his hands happily, then sneezed. Another boom shook the room, this time collapsing half the roof tiles. "Xiao Li, our son sneezed a roof off. That's not normal." Li Wei rubbed dust out of his hair. "I told you we should begin his cultivation training immediately. He's still chewing on his fingers. The only thing he should be cultivating is teeth." The boy blinked innocently at them both, then picked up a piece of roof tile and tried to eat it. Li Wei face-bombed. "See? He's a genius. First thing he does is eat stone. I'm raising a goat." Xiao Li ignored him, carrying Li Chun outside into the courtyard, where he placed the boy down on the grass. The child immediately transformed into a snake again and slithered in delighted circles. Every so often, qi sparked out of him, scorching patches of grass. Li Wei flopped beside them, lying on the ground like a dying hero. He's going to destroy the world one sneeze at a time. At this rate, entire sects will show up demanding to properly train him. What will we do then? Xiao Li's golden eyes narrowed. "We kill them," Li Wei groaned. "We can't kill everyone who shows up at our door. That's starting a war. Then they shouldn't come." "Xiao Li, that's not how reality works." As if on cue, a faint rumble of footsteps echoed from beyond their mountain estate. Li Wei sat up sharply. He could already sense qi signatures, multiple ones, approaching cautiously. His prediction was coming true faster than expected. Xiao Li stood, placing the toddler snake back on Li Wei's lap. "I'll deal with them." Li Wei grabbed his sleeve. "Wait, let me. You're too intimidating. If we both look scary, people might actually think we're raising a demonic overlord. Which technically we are, but they don't need to know that." Xiao Li tilted his head. "You want to appear approachable? I am approachable. Everyone loves me." Li Wei puffed his chest. From his lap, The snake child sneezed again, scorching Li Wei's robe. Xiao Li arched an eyebrow. Yes, very lovable. Moments later, a group of righteous sect disciples arrived at the gate. They were young, self-important, and clearly nervous. Their leader bowed stiffly. Senior Li Wei, Senior Xiao Li, we have come on behalf of the Alliance to babysit? Oh, thank heavens. Do you know how hard it is to raise a child who can accidentally vaporize cows just by crying? Li Wei cut in brightly, balancing the toddler on his hip. The disciples blinked in horror. One muttered, "Vaporize cows?" "Indeed," Li Wei sighed. "This little monster, this precious jewel, nearly turned my favorite chicken into ash last week. You want him? Please, change his diapers too while you're at it." Xiao Li pinched the bridge of his nose, muttering under his breath, "I should have killed them at the gate." The disciples, now pale, glanced nervously at the toddler, who stared back at them with wide, innocent eyes, before turning into a snake mid-blink and hissing loudly. Half the disciples fainted. Li Wei smirked. "Well, I think that settles it. Babysitting applications denied. Off you go." He waved cheerfully while behind him. Xiao Li radiated such terrifying killing intent that the cultivators scrambled away in sheer panic. When the courtyard was finally silent again, Li Wei sat down, child still in his arms, and let out a long sigh. "See, Xiao Li, this is only the beginning. Every sect, righteous or demonic, will want him. Our free and happy days are numbered." Xiao Li knelt beside him, eyes fixed on their child. "Then we will make new days. With him." Li Wei blinked. The rare softness in Xiao Li's voice tugged at his heart. He covered it quickly with a crooked grin. "Ha! Look at us. Most feared cultivators under the heavens, reduced to babysitters and roof repairmen." The toddler clapped again, sending sparks into the sky. Li Wei muttered, "He's going to be the death of us." But the way he held the child tighter betrayed the truth. He wouldn't trade this chaos for anything. Chapter 2: The Baby Cultivator Breaks Reality. The morning began the same way it always did, with destruction. Li Wei woke to the sound of something shattering. He groaned, rolling over in bed, only to discover the sheets were cold beside him. He shot upright immediately. "Xiao Li? Where's the little roof collapser?" he called. From the kitchen, Xiao Li's dry voice echoed back, "Your son is experimenting with pots." Li Wei bolted out of the bedroom, hair sticking up in every direction. He arrived just in time to see a small, chubby-handed boy standing triumphantly on the kitchen table. Around him lay the shattered remains of 5 porcelain bowls. "Chunny, do you know how rare those bowls are? They were gifts from the Moon Pavilion. If you wanted to smash something, at least start with Daddy's creepy vase collection." Li Wei gasped in horror. The boy blinked at him innocently, then giggled. A second later, his tiny body shimmered and poof, a black snake coiled tightly around the table leg. "Don't you dare slither away." Li Wei lunged, but the snake shot across the floor faster than a shadow, weaving between chairs and furniture with lightning speed. Xiao Li sat calmly in the corner, sipping tea. "You are supposed to be the strongest cultivator alive, and yet you cannot catch a toddler." "Xiao Li, I will smack you with my fan. It's not about strength, it's about shit. He bit me." Li Wei snapped, chasing his son under the table. From beneath the table came Li Wei's strangled yelp. He emerged moments later, holding his finger as the snake child wriggled gleefully in his other hand. "Xiao Li." He drew blood. "He's inherited your viciousness." Li Wei howled. Xiao Li set his cup down. "Good. That means he's strong. He's a baby. He should be inheriting my kindness and charm." Xiao Li stared. "Charm? You kidnapped me, chained me, made me your pet, and laughed at me. If he inherits your charm, we are doomed." Li Wei blinked. "You're still holding grudges? After all these years?" "Xiao Li, we're married. Marriage doesn't erase stupidity." Before Li Wei could retort, their son suddenly transformed back into a boy, sitting cross-legged on the floor, his eyes unusually focused. He placed his tiny palms together and hummed. The air trembled. Both parents froze. "Oh no, he's cultivating," Li Wei said. Indeed, waves of qi rippled from the toddler's body. Cracks formed in the wooden floor. Pots rattled. A cupboard door flew open and every single spoon levitated, clanging against the walls. Xiao Li surged to his feet, instantly forming protective barriers around the child. He is untrained. His body cannot handle this. Then stop him, Li Wei shouted, ducking as a spoon narrowly missed his forehead. I can't. He's too strong already. The words sent a chill through Li Wei. He watched, torn between pride and horror, as his son accidentally summoned a storm of qi strong enough to tear their kitchen apart. Then pop. The toddler sneezed. Every barrier Xiao Li had placed shattered instantly. The wave of unleashed qi blasted through the roof, sending tiles flying into the sky like fireworks. Li Wei and Xiao Li stood frozen in the debris-filled silence, smoke curling from their hair. The boy looked delighted, clapping his hands and laughing as though nothing had happened. Our house. Xiao Li, he destroyed our house, Li Wei said, surveying the wreckage. Xiao Li dusted ash from his sleeve. At least he is talented. Talented? He's an apocalyptic sneeze waiting to happen. Li Wei's voice cracked as he picked up his son, holding him aloft like an accusing flag. You, young man, are hereby forbidden from cultivating until you learn to control your snot. The boy sneezed again. A nearby chicken vaporized into dust. Li Wei fell to his knees. No, not little drumstick. Xiao Li pinched the bridge of his nose, muttering, I told you to eat it sooner. That night, after repairing what they could, Li Wei collapsed in the courtyard, staring at the stars. Their son was asleep, finally, curled up in snake form on Xiao Li's lap. Xiao Li, I'm worried, Li Wei said softly. Xiao Li glanced at him. Our son. He's too strong. What if he can't control it? What if people come for him? What if we can't protect him? Li Wei hesitated, his joking tone finally slipping. For a long moment, Xiao Li didn't respond. Then he said quietly but firmly, We will protect him. Always. Together. Li Wei looked over, startled. The deadly serious expression on Xiao Li's face made his chest tighten. He swallowed the lump in his throat and quickly covered it with sarcasm. Well, if you're wrong, I'll haunt you after death. Xiao Li's lips twitched, almost a smile. Then I will chain you again. Xiao Li. But despite his protest, Li Wei leaned back, listening to the sound of his child's soft hissing snores, and for the first time that day, allowed himself to relax. Chapter 3: Righteous Invitations and Thinly Veiled Kidnapping. The morning after their house collapsed, Li Wei was halfway through hammering planks onto what was left of the roof when a shadow fell over the courtyard. He looked up and nearly dropped the hammer on his own foot. A group of men in pristine white robes stood at the gate. Their long swords glimmered, their hair was bound with immaculate jade clasps, and their faces were stuck in the universal expression of, We are righteous cultivators. Therefore we are better than you. Li Wei immediately shouted, Xiao Li, the laundry spirits have returned to steal our socks. Xiao Li stepped out from the kitchen, wiping his hands. Those are not laundry spirits. The leader of the group, a tall man with sharp eyebrows, cupped his hands. Greetings, Senior Li Wei, Senior Xiao Li. We represent the illustrious Azure Cloud sect. Ah, salesman. Li Wei clapped his hands. The man faltered. We are not salesmen. We come with an honorable invitation. Invitation? Unless it involves free wine, I'm not interested. The sect leader's smile tightened. It involves your son. At that, Xiao Li's gaze sharpened, his qi flickering dangerously. The men at the gate stiffened, suddenly aware they were standing within striking distance of the black snake demon. Li Wei quickly jumped down from the roof, flailing his arms. Now, Xiao Li, don't kill the guests yet. Let's at least hear what their scam is. The leader forced his smile wider. We have observed unusual disturbances in the heavens recently. Powerful child has been born. Surely you know who we mean. No, please enlighten me. There are so many noisy children these days. One next door screams like a pig every morning. Li Wei said innocently. You don't have neighbors, Shaoli muttered. Li Wei elbowed him. Shoo! Don't ruin my story. The leader's expression darkened. We speak, of course, of your son. Such a prodigious child must be guided properly, lest his power become a danger to himself and others. Our sect humbly offers to take him under our wing. Li Wei gasped, clutching his chest. Are you saying my parenting is dangerous? Shaoli, did you hear that? They think I'm irresponsible. You are, Shaoli said. Not helping. Li Wei stormed up to the sect leader, pointing a finger at his nose. Listen, Mr. White Robe. My son is perfectly fine under my guidance. He eats 3 meals a day, he laughs. He occasionally destroys chickens with sneezes, but that's normal child behavior. The leader blinked. He destroyed chickens? Don't you dare judge me, Li Wei barked. At that moment, their son toddled out of the house, hair messy, eyes half closed from sleep. He yawned, rubbed his little eyes, then promptly transformed into a snake and curled around Xiao Li's ankle. The righteous cultivators froze. Li Wei beamed. See? Perfectly normal. The sect leader cleared his throat. This confirms it. Such duality of form is unheard of. Senior Li Wei, Senior Xiao Li, if you truly care for your child, you must entrust him to the Azure Cloud sect. We can provide safety, training, discipline. Discipline? Li Wei gasped, covering his son's ears. Don't listen, Chunny. They want to make you eat vegetables. The toddler, now back in human form, clapped his hands happily and accidentally released a burst of chi. The sect's entire delegation was thrown several feet back, landing in a heap outside the gate. Xiao Li folded his arms. That was a warning. Leave. The leader struggled to his feet, dusting off his immaculate robes. You cannot protect him forever. Others will come, stronger than us. If you love your child, you will think carefully. Li Wei narrowed his eyes, his smile gone. You dare threaten me in my own courtyard? The chi in the air shifted instantly. For all his easygoing nature, Li Wei's cultivation still carried the weight of 1,000 battles. The pressure pressed down like a mountain, making the intruder stumble. Even Xiao Li gave him a rare approving glance. The sect leader gritted his teeth, then finally bowed stiffly. We will take our leave, but remember our words. With that, the delegation retreated in haste, their white robes disappearing down the path like fleeing ducks. Silence settled again. Li Wei exhaled and plopped onto the ground, his child crawling into his lap. Xiao Li, they're right. More will come. Everyone will want him. Xiao Li crouched beside him, expression unreadable. Then we kill them all. Li Wei snorted despite the knot in his chest. Straightforward as always. His son giggled, tugging on his sleeve, oblivious to the heavy air. Li Wei forced a grin and kissed his head. Don't worry, little roof collapser. Mama and Papa will deal with it. You just keep being you. The boy squealed happily, wrapping his tiny arms around Li Wei's neck. Xiao Li watched them both, his usually cold eyes softening. Chapter 4, Demons Bearing Gifts, Mostly Candy. Li Wei was halfway through repairing the chicken coop, again, thanks to his son's chi sneeze last night, when he heard a loud gong outside the courtyard, announcing the arrival of the glorious, magnanimous, most generous blood shadow sect. Li Wei froze, hammer in hand. Xiao Li, did you order takeout again? Xiao Li stepped out of the house, his arms crossed. If I had, they wouldn't be announcing themselves like idiots. The gates creaked open, and in strode a group of cultivators in dark crimson robes. Their leader, a portly man with slicked back hair and too many rings on his fingers, grinned widely. Behind him, disciples carried boxes, jars, and even cages filled with glittering items. Li Wei squinted. Either you're here to rob me, or you're here to propose marriage. Which is it? The portly man clasped his hands. Senior Li Wei, Senior Xiao Li, we come in peace. We come with gifts. He waved, and one of the disciples rushed forward, presenting a large lacquered box. Li Wei opened it cautiously, then gasped. Candy! Xiao Li, it's candy! Mountains of it! Inside were rows of sugar-dusted treats, candied plums, golden honey cakes, and even a jar labeled sweet rice wine jelly. Xiao Li's expression darkened. Bribery! The portly man chuckled. Bribery? No, this is our way of showing good faith. Your son deserves the best, and only our sect can give him a future where he indulges in all the sweets he desires. Li Wei blinked. Wait, you want my son? In exchange for desserts? Not just desserts, the man cried. He clapped his hands again, and another disciple brought forth a cage containing a glowing spirit beast. It looked like a rabbit, except it had 3 heads and an unfortunate habit of sneezing fire. This beast will be his pet, the man declared. The toddler came toddling out right on cue, saw the fire-sneezing rabbit, and squealed happily. Bunny! He waved his little arms, and the rabbit instantly went limp from the sheer blast of unrestrained chi. The demonic sect disciples panicked. Li Wei groaned, slapping his forehead. Child, no murdering guests' pets. That's impolite. Xiao Li, meanwhile, was glaring daggers at the portly leader. You think you can buy him with candy and circus animals? The man's grin faltered, but he quickly recovered. Of course not. We also offer a mountain villa, a personal army of guards, and unlimited resources. Your child could rule the cultivation world under our banner. Li Wei's eyes lit up. A villa? With hot springs? Maybe a koi pond? Xiao Li, we could finally have a decent roof. Xiao Li's voice was flat as winter ice. Wei, Li Wei sighed. Fine. No selling the child. The toddler, completely oblivious to the tension, had crawled into the candy box and was happily stuffing his face. The portly man tried again, his voice oily. Senior Li Wei, think carefully. The righteous sects will come and chain him with rules and restrictions. Only with us will he have true freedom. Li Wei tilted his head, smiling sweetly. Oh, freedom, you say? Then why don't you demonstrate how free you are? By leaving my courtyard before I kick you out. The disciples stiffened, hands twitching toward their weapons. Xiao Li stepped forward. The ground cracked beneath his feet, his chi swirling like a storm. Touch your weapons, and you will not leave alive. The demonic cultivators froze. Even the portly leader's grin slipped completely. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Li Wei, meanwhile, cheerfully plucked his candy-munching son out of the box and dusted sugar off his cheeks. Listen, friend. I know you mean well, but you can't just waltz in here offering candy and villas for my kid. That's creepy. Very creepy. The man opened his mouth, but Li Wei didn't give him a chance. Now shoo. The air pressure suddenly shifted as Li Wei, with the gentlest flick of his sleeve, sent the entire group tumbling backward out the gate. Boxes and cages flew everywhere. The portly man scrambled to his feet, his robes singed. This isn't over. The world will not allow such a child to remain unclaimed. You will regret this arrogance, he shouted, trying to regain dignity. Li Wei waved cheerfully. Yes, scary threats, very spooky. Don't forget your rabbit. With a frustrated growl, the demonic group collected their half-conscious pet and stormed away. Silence returned once more. Li Wei plopped down on the ground, his son still chewing on a sticky candy plum. He looked at Xiao Li, who was still scowling at the empty gate. They're going to keep coming? Li Wei said softly, the humor fading from his tone. Xiao Li nodded, eyes narrowed. Righteous or demonic, they're the same. Greedy. Li Wei pulled his son closer, kissing the boy's messy hair. Then let them come. We'll just keep throwing them out. As long as it takes. For a moment, the 3 of them sat in quiet. Then their son burped loudly, and a puff of chi blasted the half-built chicken coop into splinters. Li Wei groaned. I just fixed that. Xiao Li's lips twitched, almost a smile. Chapter 5, 100 Cultivators, 2 Exasperated Parents. It started with silence. The morning had been too quiet. No birds, no wind, not even the usual creaking of the bamboo around their mountain home. Li Wei set his teacup down with a frown. Xiao Li, did the forest get stage fright? He murmured. Xiao Li didn't look up from sharpening his sword. It's an ambush. Right on cue, the silence cracked like glass. Figures dropped from the sky, pouring in from every direction. Robes of white and gold mingled with crimson and black. Nearly 100 cultivators, blades gleaming, chi flaring like a storm. Li Wei stared, then whistled. Wow, they actually worked together. Righteous and demonic, hand in hand. If this doesn't scream world peace, I don't know what does. The toddler peeked out from behind the door, clutching his favorite wooden rattle. Papa. Li Wei smiled weakly. Papa's fine, baby. Just ignore the 100 lunatics who want to kidnap you. A righteous elder stepped forward, his beard so long it almost brushed the ground. His voice boomed, Li Wei, hand over the child. His power is dangerous for the world. Only we can guide him. The demonic sect leader beside him sneered. Nonsense. Only our sect can cultivate his potential to its peak. The righteous will cage him. He belongs to us. Both sides immediately began shouting over each other. Li Wei raised a hand. Excuse me. Excuse me. As the actual parent, can I just say no? Also, you're scaring my chickens. The toddler, sensing the tension, toddled outside and sneezed. A ripple of raw chi blasted across the courtyard, toppling 3 disciples like bowling pins. Li Wei pinched the bridge of his nose. See? This is why I don't take him to the market. One sneeze and suddenly the tofu vendor's house is on the moon. Xiao Li rose to his feet, sword gleaming. His voice was cool and sharp. Wei, take the child inside. I'll handle this. Li Wei smirked. What, you think I'll let you hog the spotlight? Please, I'm not some fragile housewife. Xiao Li's lips twitched. You're pregnant once, and now you think you're invincible. Li Wei gasped. How dare you? That pregnancy nearly killed me. The morning sickness alone was scarier than half these clowns. The surrounding cultivators, confused and increasingly impatient, finally launched their attack. Swords, talismans, and flames filled the air. Li Wei and Xiao Li moved as one. Li Wei's sleeve flicked, sending a wave of water chi crashing forward like a tidal wave. Disciples screamed as they were washed off their feet. Xiao Li darted through the chaos, his blades slicing through incoming fire spells, his movements precise and ruthless. But there were too many. Every time they cut down one wave, another rushed forward. Arrows rained, charms exploded. The very ground shook under the weight of clashing powers. Li Wei was grinning the whole time. Xiao Li, isn't this romantic? You, me, 100 cultivators, a beautiful sunset. Xiao Li snarled as he blocked a spear. Wei, if you don't shut up, I'll let them take you. Oh, please, you'd miss me in 5 minutes. Besides, we look amazing right now. Admit it. Li Wei swept his sleeve again, freezing a cluster of demonic disciples into ice statues. He blew on his fingers. Insufferable. But there was a dangerous glint of amusement in Xiao Li's eyes. Behind them, the toddler had climbed onto the roof. Papa! Daddy! Boom! He waved his little arms, and an uncontrolled blast of chi shot outward, launching a dozen cultivators straight into the forest. Li Wei shrieked. Baby, no. We talked about random explosions. The boy giggled, clapping his hands. Again. Li Wei leapt up and grabbed him, shielding him from a flying talisman. He kissed his son's cheek mid-battle. You're adorable. But please stop trying to kill the neighbors. The waves kept coming. For every righteous sword they shattered, a demonic talisman flew in its place. Sweat beaded on Li Wei's forehead. Even at full strength, 100 cultivators weren't easy. For a moment, doubt flickered across his face. Xiao Li noticed. With a sharp movement, he pressed back to back with Li Wei, holding the line. His voice was low, steady. Together. Li Wei blinked, then grinned wide again. Together. They unleashed their full power. Li Wei summoned a storm. Wind howled, rain poured, lightning cracked across the battlefield. Xiao Li danced through it, his sword an arc of black light, cutting down those foolish enough to charge. The combined force sent shockwaves that flattened trees and tore through the enemy ranks. When the dust settled, the courtyard was littered with groaning cultivators, most too injured or terrified to continue. The leaders had vanished, retreating before they lost face completely. Li Wei straightened, brushing dirt off his robes. Well, that was fun. Who's making dinner? Xiao Li sheathed his sword, expression cold. They'll be back. Li Wei looked down at his son, who was sucking on a candy plum and humming happily, oblivious to the chaos he'd caused. His heart squeezed. He turned to Xiao Li, his tone soft but firm. Then let them come again. I'll fight the whole world if I have to. Xiao Li's hand brushed against his, calloused fingers curling briefly around his own. No words, but the warmth said enough. And then their son burped loudly, releasing another puff of qi that knocked over what was left of the chicken coop. Li Wei groaned. Xiao Li, we are never keeping chickens again. Xiao Li actually smiled. Chapter 6, A Low-Profile Disaster. The battle was only yesterday, but already the world buzzed with rumors. Did you hear? Said a merchant as Li Wei walked past in a plain brown robe. The child can sneeze and topple mountains. Another man nodded gravely. My cousin's neighbor's aunt's duck was there. She swore the kid burped and half the forest caught fire. Li Wei tugged his hood lower. Duck gossip. This is how legends are born. Beside him, Xiao Li carried their son in his arms, his face as expressionless as ever. The toddler was munching dried fruit, cheeks sticky, humming tunelessly. Li Wei sighed. Xiao Li, this is impossible. Everyone already knows. We can't stay home, they'll just keep coming. We need to disappear for a while. Travel incognito like normal people. Xiao Li raised a brow. Normal people don't carry demonic swords and accidentally summon lightning when they trip. Details. We'll wear disguises. Blend in. Live like a modest family. You know, selling cabbages. Complaining about taxes. Fighting only once a week. Li Wei waved a hand. The child clapped. Papa! Cabbage! Li Wei gasped. See? He loves the idea. Xiao Li closed his eyes briefly. This will be a bad thing. They set out the next morning, dressed as humbly as possible. Li Wei wore patched robes and carried a basket of vegetables. Xiao Li wore farmer's clothes, sword hidden beneath layers of cloth. Their child had his hair tied in a messy bun and toddled along with a wooden toy ox. First, it worked. They passed through 2 towns without incident. Li Wei even haggled over radishes in the market. Then the child sneezed. A ripple of qi exploded, blasting every single radish stall into the sky. Vegetables rained down on the entire street. People screamed. The vendor pointed at them. Demonic child! Li Wei immediately shouted, "It was the wind!" and bolted, dragging Xiao Li by the sleeve. That night they hid in a shabby inn. Li Wei collapsed onto the bed, groaning. Xiao Li, you can't deny it. We're cursed. We can't not be conspicuous. The child climbed onto Xiao Li's lap, yawning. In a blink, his little body shimmered and turned into a glossy black snake. He coiled lazily around Xiao Li's arm. Xiao Li stroked his scales absently. Like father, like son. Li Wei threw a pillow at him. Don't say that with pride. He transformed in front of the innkeeper. What do you think she's telling people right now? As if on cue, they heard muffled voices from below. The farmer's kid? Turned into a snake. Impossible. I saw it. Black scales. A serpent's spirit. Maybe the prophecy is true. Li Wei groaned into his hands. We'll have every sect in the country on us before dessert. Xiao Li looked down at the little snake coiled on him, who was already snoring softly. For the faintest moment, his cold expression softened. Let them come, Xiao Li muttered. Li Wei peeked through his fingers. You're enjoying this, aren't you? All this fighting, glaring, slashing. Xiao Li smirked. I don't mind. Protecting what's mine has always been satisfying. Li Wei blinked. His heart skipped a beat. Then he rolled over. Ugh, why are you romantic only when I'm covered in radish debris? The next day, their attempt at normal family life failed even harder. They tried to buy steamed buns at a crowded street fair. The child reached out for one, but when the vendor told him, 2 coppers, he puffed his cheeks and released a wave of cheese so strong the buns exploded into the air like fireworks. People cheered. The young master is blessing us. Li Wei panicked. No blessing. No fireworks. We're normal cabbage sellers. Remember? Someone shouted, Long live the cabbage family. Xiao Li deadpanned. We're cursed. By nightfall, Li Wei was a wreck. He slumped against a tree, hair full of soot from the bun incident. Xiao Li. This was supposed to be peaceful. Family trip. But no, my son has to be a portable weapon of mass destruction. The toddler, now back in human form, crawled into his lap, giggling. Papa funny. Li Wei froze. Then he sighed, pressing a kiss to the boy's messy hair. Yeah, you're lucky you're cute. Xiao Li sat beside him, their shoulders brushing. His voice was low, steady. Wei, even if the whole world comes for him, we'll keep him safe. Li Wei looked at him. For once, no jokes, no sarcasm. Just the weight of everything they'd already fought through together. Yeah, we will. The boy yawned, curling against them both. Fireflies flickered in the trees, and for a moment, despite the chaos, Li Wei thought, this was what peace felt like, until their son burped. Another ripple of qi blasted out, flattening the tree behind them. Li Wei buried his face in his hands. Xiao Li, we're never getting through this trip alive. Xiao Li chuckled quietly. Chapter 7 Negotiations, or How to Ruin Diplomacy in 3 Cups of Tea. The invitation arrived on golden paper, sealed with 5 sect crests. Li Wei squinted at the letter while slurping noodles. Ha! So the righteous alliance of purely good sects with absolutely no ulterior motives is inviting us for tea. Xiao Li, sharpening his sword by the window, didn't look up. They want the child. Well, obviously. But look, they went to the trouble of using gold paper. That's classy. The least we can do is show up and ruin their hopes in person. Li Wei waved a chopstick. Their son, perched on the table with sauce all over his cheeks, clapped. Tea party. Xiao Li glanced at the boy, then at Li Wei. This will end in blood. Li Wei slurped another noodle. It always does. The tea meeting was hosted in a mountain pavilion draped with banners of righteousness. Elders from the 5 great sects sat in stately rows, radiating authority. Their disciples stood behind them, glaring as if they'd already won. Li Wei strolled in, robes wrinkled, child on his hip, Xiao Li trailing like a dark shadow. He looked around the grand pavilion and gasped. Wow, so many old men sitting in one place. Is this a tea party or a funeral rehearsal? Half the elders nearly choked on their tea. Cultivator Li Wei, one elder began, forcing calm. We have come to negotiate peacefully. It is known your child possesses unusual gifts. If raised properly, he could destroy your sect before breakfast? Oh, I'm well aware. Li Wei interrupted. He plopped into the seat of honor uninvited, bouncing the child on his lap. The child giggled and waved at the elders. Old grandpas! Gasps rippled across the pavilion. One elder coughed violently. Another disciple muttered. He called the sect master Grandpa. Xiao Li stood silently behind Li Wei, hand resting on his sword, eyes cold enough to freeze the tea. The eldest elder cleared his throat. We do not seek conflict. We merely wish to offer guidance. With our combined resources, your son could be raised as the protector of the righteous path. Li Wei beamed. Protector? Wonderful idea. He can start by protecting my snack cabinet. Very righteous work. An elder snapped. This is serious, Li Wei. Oh, I am serious. You want my son as your pet weapon. But see, I already have a pet. He's tall, broody, and glares a lot. Not for sale, sorry. Li Wei said, nibbling on a peach. Xiao Li's lips twitched. Was that the faintest hint of a smirk? Just then, the child tugged Li Wei's sleeve. Papa, hungry. Li Wei pulled out a bun from his sleeve and handed it over. The boy bit it happily, then burped. The chi wave that burst out rattled the pavilion beams, sent teacups flying, and knocked 2 disciples flat. Everyone froze. The child giggled. Li Wei coughed into his fist. See? Perfectly normal child behavior. Normal. He nearly collapsed the pavilion, one elder shrieked. Don't exaggerate. If he wanted to, the mountain would be gone too. But look, still standing. That's restraint, Li Wei said. Murderous glares turned toward them. Disciples whispered. Sect masters clenched fists. And through it all, Shaoli finally spoke, voice like ice cutting through the noise. Touch him and you'll all die. Silence fell like a blade. The child blinked up at Shaoli. Papa scary. Then he transformed mid-bite into a glossy black snake and curled around Li Wei's wrist, chewing happily. Several disciples fainted. Li Wei, deadpan, raised his snake-wrapped hand. Behold, our family pet/son/weapon of mass chaos. Any questions? The sect leaders, flustered but desperate, tried one last tactic. Li Wei, please, think of the future. The child is too powerful to remain uncontrolled. If one day you fall, who will keep him in check? Li Wei looked at them long and hard. For once, no smile, no sarcasm. His hand stroked the snake child coiled around his wrist. If one day I fall, then he'll have his other father. And if we both fall, then the world had better pray it never tries to control him. Because he's not a weapon. He's our son. The pavilion went dead silent. Even the wind seemed to pause. Then Li Wei suddenly brightened again, clapping his hands. Anyway, tea's cold. We'll be leaving. Don't trip on the way down the mountain. Your bones are fragile at that age. He scooped up the child. Shaoli turned on his heel, and together they walked out, leaving a roomful of elders too stunned to stop them. Behind them, the boy piped up brightly, Papa funny, Papa scary. I like. Li Wei ruffled his hair, grinning. That's right. Papa is always funny, and Papa Snake is always scary. Perfect balance. Shaoli muttered, I regret everything. But the faint curve at his lips betrayed otherwise. Chapter 8. The Demonic Welcome Committee, uninvited, of course. Night fell over the mountains like a cloak dipped in ink. The moon was pale, the wind whispered, and the air itself seemed heavy. Li Wei leaned back against a rock, sipping wine from a gourd, while his son curled beside him chewing on dried fruit. Shaoli sat cross-legged nearby, sharpening his sword with the patience of someone who'd rather stab the night itself than listen to Li Wei's humming. Papa, sing again, the child demanded, eyes shining. Li Wei cheerfully belted out a completely off-key folk tune about an immortal falling into a pigsty. Shaoli's hand visibly tightened on his blade. One day I'll cut out your tongue. Romantic, see, son? That's how your papa expresses affection. Li Wei sighed dreamily. The child giggled. That's when the shadows shifted. A ripple of killing intent swept through the clearing. Black-robed figures emerged from the trees, cloaks billowing, skull motifs painted on their masks. One of them hissed, Li Wei, hand over the child. Li Wei blinked at them, then at their masks, then back at his son. Wow, they've got skulls on their faces. Scary. Quick, son, hide your raisins. The boy clutched his snack pouch protectively. The demonic cultivator leader, tall and imposing, raised a clawed hand. We are from the Nether Serpent sect. That child's power belongs to the demonic path. Li Wei gasped loudly. Oh, Shaoli, did you hear? They've got serpent in their name. How lucky. Maybe they're your cousins. Shaoli's glare could have frozen hellfire itself. The demonic leader ignored him. Give us the child peacefully, and we will spare your lives. Li Wei set his wine gourd down, looked at the masked figures, and said with a perfectly serious face, No. The cultivators bristled. You dare. Wait, wait. Li Wei interrupted, raising a hand. Let me guess your plan. You sweep in, I refuse, you attack, we fight. My son accidentally releases a chi wave and knocks you all flat. Then you crawl home crying about how unfair it is. Did I get it right? The silence from the demonic cultivators was almost comical. Li Wei leaned toward his son. See? Papa can see the future. Amazing talent. The boy clapped his little hands. Papa is best. The demonic cultivators finally snapped. Attack! Dozens of shadows surged forward, blades gleaming with poisonous chi. The air thickened with demonic energy. Shaoli leapt into the fray, his blades slicing arcs of cold light. He moved like a predator unleashed, each strike precise, lethal. A single sweep of his sword sent 3 masked figures crashing into trees. Meanwhile, Li Wei stayed seated, calmly nibbling on dried plums while the child bounced on his knee. "Papa, aren't you fighting?" the boy asked. "Ah, son, you see, your papa is currently very busy cultivating the Tao of watching handsome men work." From the battlefield, Shaoli snarled, "Li Wei! See? Even he agrees." The demonic cultivators regrouped, chanting an incantation. Dark mist coiled, forming a massive serpent-shaped phantom that roared across the clearing. Li Wei squinted at it. "Ha! Shaoli, is that your cousin after skipping dinner?" The phantom serpent lunged, only to stop midair as the boy, alarmed, dropped his snack pouch and started crying. The wail wasn't just sound, it was chi. Pure, uncontrolled chi exploded outward like a thunderclap. The phantom shattered. Trees bent sideways. Half the demonic cultivators were blasted into the sky like fireworks. Silence. The boy hiccuped. "Papa, snack fell." Li Wei patted his head. There. Snacks can be replaced. But see, son, you've already achieved a new cultivation technique. The crying thunderstrike. Shaoli, returning from the carnage, looked down at the groaning demonic cultivators scattered like broken dolls. His voice was low, deadly. "Get up again, and I'll end you where you lie." The survivors scrambled to retreat, dragging their injured comrades. As they vanished into the trees, Li Wei called after them, "Thanks for the entertainment. Next time bring wine. And better costumes. Skulls are so last dynasty." When the night was quiet again, Li Wei stretched, yawning. "Well, that was lively. Who needs theater when the demonic sects come to perform for free?" The child sniffled and tugged Li Wei's sleeve. "Papa, I didn't mean to break." Li Wei softened, pulling him close. "Shoo, you didn't break it. Just bent it a little. You're perfect, exactly as you are." The boy, half asleep, mumbled, "Papa funny, Papa scary, safe," before drifting into dreams. Li Wei chuckled softly, holding him tighter. "That's right, son. Safe. Always." And above them, the stars blinked down, silent witnesses to both the comedy and the quiet war waiting to unfold. Chapter 9, When Everyone Wants Your Baby. Morning dawned bright and innocent, as if the heavens themselves had decided to pretend last night's demonic ambush never happened. Birds sang. Mist curled along the mountain slopes, and Li Wei was still snoring loudly enough to scare those very birds away. The child, perched on his father's chest, poked his cheek with a sticky raisin-covered finger. "Papa, wake up. You promised to teach me flying sword today." Li Wei cracked one eye open. "Flying sword? But son, you're too young. You can't even fly straight without tripping on your own chi yet." The boy puffed his cheeks. "I can. I'll show you." Before anyone could stop him, the child hopped off and clapped his hands together. His tiny body glowed. A wave of chi shot outward, flattening the campfire, knocking Li Wei back into a rock, and sending Xiao Li's neatly folded sword-cleaning cloth fluttering into the trees. Li Wei groaned from the ground. "See? Perfect example. You just launched your papa instead of a sword." The boy sniffled. "Papa fell." "Papa always falls," Li Wei reassured, staggering up and brushing off soot. "Part of my cultivation method." From his spot, Xiao Li pinched the bridge of his nose, exhaling slowly. This child will destroy the entire mountain range if he isn't taught control. Meanwhile, far away, in a grand hall belonging to the righteous sects, leaders gathered. Golden robes rustled, jade fans snapped shut. One elder pounded the table. "That child is unstable." His chi surge destroyed a phantom serpent in one wail. Another fanned himself delicately. "Exactly. A divine weapon in human form." We must take him in, train him, guide him. A third harumphed. Guide him into our sex banner, you mean? Don't think we don't see your little scheme. Tempers flared until the demonic sect emissaries strolled into the hall, clad in dark silks and smug smiles. You righteous hypocrites argue too much, one drawled. Why not admit the truth? You want to use him just as badly as we do. Gasped. Outrage. The words demonic dog and self-righteous donkey flew freely. But then silence fell as the Nether Serpent sect leader spoke. We cannot capture the boy alone. His parents are too strong. Together, however, the righteous cultivators exchanged looks, faces stiff, eyes calculating. Reluctantly, the unthinkable was born. A temporary alliance between righteous and demonic sects, all for one small child with a raisin obsession. Back on the mountain, Li Wei watched his son rolling in the grass with a stick, giggling. Completely unaware half the cultivation world now wanted him as their personal weapon. He sighed. Xiao Li, do you ever think about how unfair it is? We cultivated for centuries, and yet one tiny sneeze from him can level a forest. Xiao Li's lips pressed thin. It makes me want to strangle him. Li Wei beamed. That's how I know you love him. Xiao Li stared, murderous silence radiating. Suddenly, the boy sneezed. A shockwave blasted outward, flattening trees in a neat circle. Birds fell from the sky. The ground trembled. Bless you, Li Wei said weakly, clinging to a tree stump. The boy sniffled, innocent. Papa, I made the mountain shake. Yes, son, very impressive. Next time, let's try shaking something smaller, like a blade of grass. Xiao Li muttered. At this rate, we'll be hunted by every sect in existence. Later that evening, the family sat around a new campfire. Li Wei roasted sweet potatoes while Xiao Li meditated silently, pretending not to watch his son sneak extra raisins. Papa, will bad people come again? The boy mumbled around a mouthful. Li Wei ruffled his hair. Bad people always come, son. It's their hobby. But we're good at kicking them back where they belong. The child grinned sleepily, curling up against him. Xiao Li opened his eyes, gaze lingering on Li Wei silhouetted by firelight, holding their son as if the entire world could burn and he wouldn't let go. Something in his chest tightened, an emotion sharp, reluctant, and terrifying. Idiot, he muttered under his breath. But in that quiet clearing, despite knowing the storm that was about to crash down on them, for one fleeting moment, it felt like home. Chapter 10 Siege of Raisins and Rage. The first sign came with the wind. Not natural wind, this was the kind that reeked of too much qi. Birds vanished. Trees bent low. The entire mountain seemed to shudder. Li Wei peeked out of their makeshift hut, gnawing on a roasted yam. Smells like trouble. Big trouble. Probably the kind that wants to borrow sugar and never return it. Xiao Li's eyes narrowed, scanning the horizon. It isn't trouble. It's an army. Sure enough, figures began appearing over the ridges. Robes of white and gold glittering in sunlight, mixed with black and crimson that bled shadows across the valley. Righteous and demonic, side by side, their combined killing intent thick enough to choke. Their son, sitting cross-legged in the grass, was more concerned with his raisins. Papa, they came for snack time? Li Wei ruffled his hair. Snack time, yes, just not the snacks we'd like. The siege begins. Hundreds of cultivators descended, forming an encirclement. Spiritual weapons gleamed, banners whipped in the wind. At the front stood an elder with a beard so long it could have been its own weapon. Li Wei, Xiao Li, hand over the child peacefully, and we may spare your lives. Li Wei raised his yam like a sacred talisman. Spare my life? Do you know how much rent I've avoided by living freely all these years? I don't need your charity. A ripple of irritation ran through the crowd. The elder's beard twitched. Xiao Li stepped forward, sword drawn, voice sharp. No one touches him. Their son clapped excitedly. Daddy's scary again. The army roared, charging as one. The sky lit up with sword lights and demonic sigils. Explosions rocked the mountain. Li Wei flicked his wrist, sending waves of chi like playful gusts that knocked entire cultivators into trees. Woo! 10 points for artistic landing. He cheered as one righteous disciple went spinning into a bush. Another cultivator aimed a flaming talisman at their child. Li Wei instantly appeared before him, snatching the talisman midair. He blew on it and it fizzled like wet paper. Next time, try less fire, more spice. Chili peppers work better. Meanwhile, Shaoli fought with terrifying precision, each slash cutting through dozens. His inner thoughts burned. Idiots. To think they dare touch what's mine. But for every wave they cut down, more poured in. A sea of blades, arrows, and spells rained down. Li Wei grimaced. This is like being attacked by mosquitoes during summer. No matter how many you swat, more keep buzzing in. Xiao Li's voice was ice. Mosquitoes that want to dissect our son. In the middle of it all, their son stood clutching his raisin pouch, eyes wide. Papa, Daddy, don't fight. His chi pulsed. Boom! An uncontrolled wave burst from his tiny body, blasting hundreds of cultivators backward in a domino wave. Mountains cracked. Trees uprooted. The sky itself shuddered. The boy blinked innocently. The army regrouped, shaken but more determined than ever. Then it happened. Amid the chaos, a shadow slipped unseen through the battlefield. One of the demonic sect's hidden masters, a gaunt man cloaked in black smoke, slid behind their son. His fingers traced a talisman, breaking the glowing protection charm Li Wei and Shaoli had wrapped around the child. Snap! The barrier shattered like glass. Papa? The boy gasped as black smoke engulfed him. His raisins spilled onto the ground. Li Wei's head whipped around, too late. No! His roar split the heavens as he lunged, but the smoke retreated faster than lightning, carrying the child away. Xiao Li's blade struck empty air. His chi lashed violently, splitting the earth. Damn it! The battlefield stilled. Even the hundreds of cultivators paused, realizing what had just happened. The boy was gone. Li Wei fell to his knees, clutching the scattered raisins. His smile, usually so unshakable, was gone, replaced by hollow rage. I told him safe. Always. Xiao Li's chest heaved, fury radiating like a storm. His hand trembled around his sword. My son. My blood. Taken from me again by shadows. If I have to burn every sect and every sky, I'll drag him back. He looked at Li Wei, who still knelt, shaking. Their eyes met, one filled with quiet grief, the other with a serpent's murderous vow. Finally, Li Wei exhaled slowly, forcing a crooked smile through the pain. Well, guess snack time is over. We go after him. Shaoli nodded, eyes burning like hellfire. We never stop until he's home. The mountain was silent. For the first time in centuries, Li Wei didn't laugh. Chapter 11, Raisins Left Behind. The mountain was silent after the siege. Bodies lay scattered across the valley, chi dissipating like smoke. But the quiet was worse than battle. It was the silence of something irreplaceable gone. Li Wei sat in the dirt, raisins clutched tight in his palm. His usual grin had faded into something brittle. He didn't even finish the pack. He's gonna cry about that, you know? Shaoli stood nearby, his sword dripping blood, eyes colder than steel. He didn't answer. He couldn't. Li Wei finally looked up, forcing a weak smile. Shaoli, if you don't say something soon, I'm going to assume you joined the enemy out of sheer stubbornness. Xiao Li's jaw tightened. His inner thoughts were a storm. If I speak, I'll break. If I move, I'll kill. If I falter, I'll never forgive myself. Instead, he said, voice low, we leave. Now. Their hut was in shambles, but Li Wei still bustled around, stuffing things into a sack. Raisins, check. Travel robes, check. 3 jars of pickled radish, absolutely essential. Who needs spiritual pills when you have crunchy vegetables? Shaoli pinched the bridge of his nose. We're not packing for a picnic. Of course not. This is for when we rescue our son, survive 3 assassination attempts, and need to celebrate with radishes. You'll thank me later. The snake demon's patience was thin as silk. Do you ever take anything seriously? Li Wei's hands stilled just long enough for his voice to crack. My son's gone. That's serious enough for you. For a moment, even Shaoli froze. Then Li Wei shoved the sack closed, standing tall again. Now let's go before I start crying and drown the mountain. They descended toward the valley where fleeing demonic sect members had left trails of black qi. Shaoli stalked forward like a blade searching for a throat. Li Wei trailed behind, whistling. Finally, they found a demon beast, half donkey, half bat, snacking on a fallen cultivator's shoe. Li Wei's eyes lit up. Ah, local witness. The donkey bat blinked. Mid-chew. Shaoli raised his sword. It's useless. Kill it. Whoa, whoa. Interrogations come first. Li Wei crouched eye level with the beast. All right, Shuchuer. Did you see where the child snatching smoke creep went? The donkey bat tilted its head. Maybe it speaks raisin. Li Wei tossed a raisin in front of it. The beast gobbled it up, then snorted a puff of smoke pointing east. Li Wei clapped like a teacher with a slow student. See? Raisins solve everything. Shaoli muttered darkly. If you try feeding every demon we meet, I'll throw you into a pit. Li Wei winked. Romantic threats already? We must be bonding through tragedy. That night, they camped under a crooked pine. Li Wei lay on his back, staring at the stars. Do you think he's scared? He still can't sleep without chewing something. If they take his raisins away. His voice was softer than Shaoli had ever heard. Shaoli sat silently sharpening his blade, though his hands trembled. His inner thoughts ached. He's mine. Ours. He must be crying. Alone. Cold. I'll carve the world apart if I must. Li Wei rolled over, propping his head up. You know, you're terrifying when you brood like that. But don't worry. I'll keep cracking jokes so you don't implode. Finally, Shaoli snapped, eyes flashing. Do you ever shut up? Li Wei grinned faintly. Not when I'm scared. The next morning, they crossed a ruined village where cultivators had fought days earlier. Li Wei paused at a broken cart, picking up a toy flute. He blew into it. A squeaky, awful sound emerged. Ha! Perfect weapon against enemy morale. Shaoli nearly snatched it out of his hands. Stop wasting time. But when Li Wei tucked the flute into his robe, his smile faltered. Our boy wanted one of these. Said he wanted to start a band. Imagine that. Wei and the Snakes. Shaoli's throat tightened. He looked away, gripping his sword until his knuckles whitened. Li Wei noticed and forced a lighter tone. Don't worry, you'd make a terrible backup dancer anyway. By evening, they reached the edge of a blackened forest. The trail of smoke qi led deeper in. Li Wei squared his shoulders, uncharacteristically serious. Listen, we'll find him. But when we do, I'm not letting you kill everyone in sight. Our son deserves to come home to parents who don't reek of endless slaughter. Shaoli's gaze burned. And if slaughter is what it takes? Li Wei stepped closer, eyes fierce beneath his humor. Then I'll stop you. Because he needs both of us alive and human, not monsters. The snake demon's chest tightened. For once, he didn't argue. Instead, he whispered, We'll get him back. Li Wei nodded, his grin faint but real. Good. Because if we don't, I'll haunt you in the afterlife forever. And trust me, I'll sing off-key every night. Shaoli almost smiled. Together, they stepped into the forest. Chapter 12, Terrible Disguises and Worse Acting. The forest grew darker as the two cultivators followed the trail of black qi. By nightfall, they reached a jagged ravine, its cliffs pitted with caves glowing faint red. Torches flickered along the path. Demonic sect disciples patrolled, laughing harshly, unaware their night was about to get very strange. Li Wei crouched behind a boulder, rummaging through his travel sack. All right, Shaoli, it's time for Operation Brilliant Genius Master Plan. Shaoli eyed him suspiciously. Why do I hear capital letters in that sentence? Li Wei proudly pulled out a set of fake mustaches, a ragged farmer's robe, and a bamboo hat with a hole in the top. Disguises. Shaoli's voice turned icy. You want us to dress like beggars to infiltrate a demonic sect fortress? Correction, will be onion sellers. No one suspects onion sellers. People avoid onion sellers. Shaoli stared, face unreadable. Inside, his thoughts churned. I married an idiot. A terrifyingly powerful idiot. And yet somehow, an idiot who might be right. Minutes later, the two approached the guarded path. Li Wei hunched forward, dragging a cart covered with straw bundles. He shouted in a ridiculous nasal accent, "Onions! Fresh onions! Guaranteed to bring tears to your enemies and lovers alike." Shaoli followed, jaw clenched, wearing the bamboo hat pulled so low it nearly covered his eyes. He radiated the aura of a man regretting every life choice. The patrolling disciples blocked their way. "What's this? Onion sellers? Here." Li Wei waved a bundle. "Of course. Our onions are so spicy they can blind righteous cultivators at 50 paces. Perfect for you demonic gentlemen." The disciples blinked. Then one snickered. Then another. Within moments, they were doubled over laughing. Onion sellers at midnight. What next? Cabbage assassins. Shaoli muttered under his breath. Cabbage is more subtle. Li Wei elbowed him. "Stay in character, dear." The guards, still laughing, waved them through. Go on, go on. You clowns are amusing enough to live another night." As they passed, Shaoli whispered, "I can't believe that worked." Li Wei grinned beneath his mustache. Never underestimate the power of alliums. Inside the cavern, demonic disciples lounged around cauldrons of black qi, drinking, gambling, and boasting. The stench of blood and smoke was everywhere. Li Wei pulled the cart into a shadowy corner, whispering, "Now, blend in." Shaoli scowled. "Blend in? They're literally skinning spirit rabbits alive. Do you expect me to clap along?" Li Wei peeked out. "Oh look, free food. See? Hospitality." At that moment, a disciple wandered over, eyeing their straw bundles. "What's in the cart?" Li Wei puffed his chest. "Only the sharpest onions in the realm." The man snorted. "Show me." Without missing a beat, Li Wei yanked a bundle open. Instead of onions, glowing talismans tumbled out. The emergency supply he'd forgotten was in there. The disciple's eyes widened. "You!" Before he could finish, Shaoli grabbed him by the throat, dragging him into the shadows. A muffled snap followed. Li Wei winced. "You could have at least pretended he choked on an onion." Shaoli wiped his hand clean. "Next time, don't pack talismans with your vegetables." They slipped deeper into the fortress, past a hall lined with cages. Children, beasts, and cultivators alike were trapped, their qi suppressed by iron chains. Li Wei's chest tightened as he scanned the faces. "Not here," he whispered. Shaoli's eyes narrowed at the cruelty. He wanted to slaughter everyone inside, but Li Wei's hand gripped his wrist. "Not now. If we blow our cover, we'll never reach him," Li Wei said. For once, Shaoli stayed still, though his inner thoughts burned. "I'll come back. Every chain will break. Every throat will spill." At the far end of the hall, they overheard disciples bragging. "Did you see the child they brought in? Strange markings on his neck. Couldn't suppress his qi no matter what they tried. Blew 3 cages apart already. Ha! No wonder the elders want him. If we can mold him into a weapon, no sect will stand against us." Li Wei froze, breath catching. Shaoli's hand went white on his sword hilt. "That's him, he's here," Li Wei whispered. They followed the voices toward a heavily guarded chamber. Just as they reached the door, another disciple spotted them. "You too. What are you doing back here?" "Only elders allowed." Li Wei panicked. Then, inspiration struck. He grabbed Shaoli's arm and shouted, "Oh no! My husband's onion allergy is acting up. Look, he's swelling already." Shaoli froze, staring at him in horror as Li Wei fanned his face. "Quick! We must find herbs before he explodes like a pufferfish." The disciple blinked. Then he squinted at Shaoli. "He doesn't look swollen." Li Wei gasped. "That's because he's so stoic. He suffers beautifully." Before the man could argue, Xiao Li seized the opportunity, slamming the hilt of his sword into the disciple's skull. He collapsed instantly. Li Wei gave him a thumbs up. See? My acting distracted him long enough for you to hit him. Perfect teamwork. Xiao Li hissed. If you ever call me swollen again, I'll feed you to real onions. They stood before the chamber door, muffled chants leaking from within. The weight of their son's qi pulsed faintly, tugging at both their cores. Li Wei exhaled. He's in there. I can feel him. Xiao Li's voice was steel. Then we carve through whoever stands between us and him. Li Wei smirked, though his eyes were damp. Carving onions, carving demons. Same thing, really? Xiao Li almost rolled his eyes. Almost. But instead, he reached out and gripped Li Wei's hand. Just once. Together, they pushed the door open. Chapter 13: Explosive Children and Worse Parenting. The heavy chamber doors creaked open with a groan that echoed like thunder. Inside, a circle of demonic elders sat cross-legged, chanting around a glowing array inscribed into the stone floor. Black flames licked the edges of the formation, its center holding a small figure. A boy, no older than 3, dark hair wild, eyes wide, a snake-shaped birthmark curling on his neck. Their son. Li Wei nearly burst into tears right then and there. My baby! The boy blinked at him. Papa! Yes. It's me, your handsome papa. Li Wei cried, charging forward, only to be yanked back by Xiao Li. Idiot. Trap formations. Indeed, as soon as Li Wei's sandal brushed the outer circle, the glyphs flared ominously. One elder smirked. Ah, so the parents arrive. How touching. Xiao Li's eyes narrowed, voice dripping with venom. Touch him, and I'll peel your skin off layer by layer. Li Wei added, yes, and I'll make you eat my cooking. The entire hall fell silent. The child blinked. Even the elders looked disturbed. Xiao Li muttered under his breath, that might actually be crueler. Before the elders could mock them further, the boy hiccuped. A pulse of raw qi burst from his tiny body, blowing apart 2 stone pillars. The elders scrambled, hastily reinforcing their shields. The boy sniffled. I don't like it here. I want to go home. Li Wei's heart cracked. My poor baby C. Even your sect can't handle his sneeze, let alone his destiny. The eldest elder snarled. His power will belong to us. With him, our sect will dominate the realms. Excuse me, he can't even dominate his potty training. Good luck with that. Li Wei interrupted. Papa! The boy wailed again. The array tightened its glow, suppressing him, but sparks of qi leaked out, scorching the floor. Xiao Li drew his blade. His voice was steel. We're ending this. Now. The elders rose, robes billowing, summoning demonic beasts from the shadows. A dozen monstrous forms filled the hall. Li Wei cracked his knuckles. All right, onions, cabbage, and now demon dogs. What a feast. Stop naming them after vegetables. Xiao Li snapped, decapitating the first beast in one fluid motion. Li Wei danced into the fray, talismans flying from his sleeves like confetti at a festival. One slapped against a beast's face. Explode, he commanded. The beast sneezed and then promptly disintegrated into black dust. The boy clapped. Yay, Papa! Li Wei puffed his chest out proudly, even as another beast lunged for his throat. Xiao Li cut it down just in time. Pay attention, Xiao Li hissed. I was. To my son's encouragement. Meanwhile, the boy squirmed in the array, qi leaking with every movement. Each leak blew apart more of the chamber walls. The elders grew frantic. Stabilize the seal. Quickly. But the boy wailed, I want to go too, Papa. His qi flared like a storm, knocking elders flat. The formation cracked. Li Wei gasped. Oh heavens. He's just like me when I'm emotional. Except I don't blow up architecture. Xiao Li deadpanned. Yet, the final elder lunged toward the boy, hand outstretched. He belongs to us. Belongs to you. He belongs to me, his papa. And Xiao Li, his snake mama. Li Wei roared, blocking the strike with a burst of his own qi, unstable but blazing. Xiao Li froze mid-swing. What did you just call me? Later. Fight first, argue after. Li Wei yelled, tossing a talisman that detonated against the elder's chest. The child laughed through tears. Snake mama. Xiao Li's jaw twitched so hard it could break. But he fought harder, cutting down the elder in a spray of dark mist. At that moment, the array shattered completely, releasing the boy. He bolted straight into Li Wei's arms. Li Wei spun him around, sobbing and laughing at once. My baby! You're safe now. The boy giggled, clinging tight. His tiny hands glowed faintly with qi that sparked at random, scorching Li Wei's sleeve. H! Hot baby! Hot baby! Xiao Li exhaled, finally sheathing his sword, and muttered, This is what I'm married into. The fortress shook, stones falling from the ceiling as the formation's backlash tore the cavern apart. Li Wei shielded his son with his qi, stumbling. Xiao Li caught them both, steady and unyielding. Move, we'll talk outside. As they fled through the collapsing halls, their son babbled, Papa, Mama, I made boom. Yes, you made a very big boom. Li Wei panted, still holding him tight. But no more booms until I say so, all right? We don't blow up furniture, people, or buildings without permission. Xiao Li growled. Stop encouraging him like he's a puppy. He's worse than a puppy. He's ours. The boy giggled and shifted suddenly, his body shimmering before shrinking into a small black snake that coiled around Li Wei's neck, scales warm and humming with qi. Li Wei nearly tripped. Don't just snake yourself without warning. Papa's heart is fragile. Xiao Li actually smirked, the faintest glimmer of pride in his eyes. At least he inherited something useful. Li Wei gasped dramatically. Excuse you. He inherited my good looks and charm. Charm? More like noise. Xiao Li muttered. But as the cavern collapsed behind them and the night sky opened above, both parents glanced at the snake child coiled safely against Li Wei's chest. For one quiet moment, they allowed themselves to breathe. The boy hissed softly and then whispered, Home. Li Wei kissed his head. Home, baby. Always home. Xiao Li didn't say it aloud, but his thoughts rang sharp and certain. No one will ever take you from us again. Chapter 14. The Tao of Parenting is Chaotic. Li Wei collapsed onto the floor of their small mountain home, spreading his limbs like a starfish. I have fought demon kings, outwitted scheming sect masters, and walked through thunder tribulations, but nothing compares to this torment. From the corner, a small voice chirped, Papa! The child, currently in snake form, slithered up his arm and coiled around Li Wei's head like an overenthusiastic hair ornament. His forked tongue flicked against Li Wei's ear. Li Wei let out an inhuman scream. Xiao Li, your son is trying to eat my brain. Xiao Li, calmly brewing tea in the kitchen, didn't even look up. He's tasting you. Be grateful he didn't bite. That is not better. Li Wei flailed dramatically, but the little snake only tightened his hold, making happy hissing noises. Later, Li Wei sat cross-legged at the table, glaring at his son, who had now taken human form. A round-cheeked boy with bright, mischievous eyes and a stubborn refusal to eat. Open your mouth. Li Wei held a spoon like a sword. The boy shook his head, lips pressed tight. Don't be like this. This porridge is very nutritious. Do you want to grow up big and strong like your papa? Li Wei coaxed. Snake! The boy declared proudly, turning into a tiny snake again and flicking his tongue. Li Wei slammed his forehead onto the table. Why does he insist on being a reptile at mealtimes? Xiao Li, sipping his tea, replied dryly. Because you make everything into a performance. He thinks it's a game. It's not a game. It's survival. He can't live on qi bursts alone. He needs to eat. As if on cue, the boy sneezed in snake form. A spark of qi shot out and scorched Li Wei's sleeve. Li Wei jumped up, waving his arm around. See, he's a weapon of mass destruction. We must control him before the house collapses. The boy giggled happily, clearly thinking his papa's panic was the funniest thing in the world. That evening, Li Wei attempted to bathe his son. "Come on, little dumpling," he said cheerfully, lifting the boy toward the wooden tub. "Clean body, clean spirit. It's part of cultivation, too." The boy wriggled violently, then, poof, turned into a slippery snake. Li Wei shrieked, "No transforming during bath time. I don't have enough hands for this." The snake darted out of his grasp and into the water, splashing everywhere. Within moments, the entire floor was soaked, and Li Wei was on his knees, desperately trying to catch him like a fisherman with bare hands. Xiao Li appeared in the doorway, arms crossed, expression unreadable. "Why is there more water outside the tub than inside? Ask your son. He's a demonic eel," Li Wei cried, dripping from head to toe. The boy popped his little snake head above the water, tongue flicking, before happily transforming back into a naked human toddler. Li Wei slapped a hand over his eyes. "At least have the decency to feel embarrassed." The boy just laughed, splashing both of his parents. Xiao Li's robe was instantly drenched. For the first time that day, his composure cracked. "Li Wei, this is your fault." "What? How is this my fault?" Li Wei howled. "You encourage his chaos." Li Wei sputtered, pointing at their son. "That chaos is genetic." At night, the family lay in bed together. The boy snuggled between them, half asleep in human form, clutching Li Wei's sleeve. Li Wei whispered, "Finally, peace." But peace was short-lived. The boy suddenly rolled over and smacked Xiao Li in the face. Then he kicked Li Wei in the stomach. Li Wei groaned. "He's mastered the forbidden technique of sleeper's assault." Xiao Li calmly adjusted the blanket. "Get used to it." "Get used to what?" "Being beaten up by our own child in our sleep." Li Wei wheezed. "Yes," Xiao Li said simply. Li Wei buried his face in the pillow. "This is not what the cultivation manuals prepared me for. Where's the chapter about children weaponizing their tiny limbs?" The boy let out a soft snore, shifting back into snake form and curling up between them like a warm coil. Despite everything, Li Wei reached out, gently touching the birthmark on his neck. His voice softened. "He's perfect, isn't he?" Xiao Li glanced at his son, his usually cold eyes melting into quiet warmth. "Yes." They lay there in silence, battered but content. Chaos, exhaustion, and laughter aside, this was their world now, and no matter how messy, they wouldn't trade it for anything.